Well, welcome to the first edition of the 2020-2021 Bermuda Referees Corner here on IslandStats.com. I'm your host, Earl Basden, and joining me are the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Mark Wade, Mr. Brian Hall, who is the head of refereeing for CONCACAF. Is that correct?
That's it.
And as we all know, Mr. Victor Stewart, who is no stranger to Bermuda, who is a referee, CONCACAF instructor. Is that correct, Mr. Stewart? Or assessor?
Yes.
Okay.
Both.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. First of all, Mr. Wade, we'll start with you because we've had a season start here, and the importance of having officials, and you've seen Mr. Stewart put a lot of our officials through their paces as he spent time here in Bermuda on several occasions. But the fact that your season has started and referees are making, or officials are making noise leaps and bounds, does that actually make you feel more comfortable knowing that they've gotten the help from CONCACAF, from FIFA, to improve their knowledge of the game?
Oh, I mean, definitely. At the end of the day, the referees or match officials or facilitators of the game, and they're a part of the product that we put out on the field. I like to say that the facilitators and the players are the stars of the show, and together they create the entire product. And the assistance that we're getting, it has been phenomenal. I remember the dark days of my first match, because I was a match official. My first match was because we were short. And Linda Rayner dressed me very quickly and put me on the line as an AR. So I remember those days, and to see us now, get into a point where we're closer and closer to that magical number that we have the amount of match officials that we require to manage our season very comfortably. We're getting closer and closer to that number. So the investment in time, finances, resources is paying dividends.
Yeah. Victor, you have spent an abundance of time in Bermuda, and obviously you've seen the development over the years and what it has raised to as we stand today. Give us a sense of what it's been like from the first time you came to the last time you were here, and your assessment on officials.
Thank you, Earl. Well, it has been a pleasure working with the Bermuda Football Association in the quest to develop referee on the island. I would like to commend President Wade and Mr. David Xavier, General Secretary, for their interest they would have placed in referee development. Indeed, this is a big push for referee within the Caribbean. I'm very impressed with the effort of Mr. Cranston Williams also, who would have in courses and instruction across to the referees. Since my first tenure in Bermuda for a FIFA MA course, I've always had a vested interest in development because I would have seen the hunger for referees. And with Cranston behind the scene pushing the youngsters to come forward, it has been a revelation in terms of the numbers where it has grown from. President, about the days when he had to work. I remember one time coming to Bermuda in my old age, President, and I had to assist with a game when one of the referees took sick on the field. I had to actually ref a Premier League game in Bermuda. And so now to see we can have both male and female referees to service all the games. We have had courses for instructors, for assessors, for youth referees. And that to me is rewarding to see the development which is ongoing. And I pledge to continue to work with Bermuda as much as possible from wherever we are to ensure that the work continue.
Yeah. Mr. Hall, you hear Victor talk, and obviously others around that Bermuda has been pushing, but actually Mr. Williams, with the support of Mr. Wade, has been pushing and increasing the numbers of youth referees and referees in general. Your impression on how things have developed over the last, say, 2 years with officiating in Bermuda?
Well, first, again, thank you for having me here. And let me say, Victor has had some very difficult appointments in Bermuda. I don't know who sent him there so many times to Bermuda. It's a tough destination, Mr. President, for someone to come and instruct. However, having said that, let me say that first off, big kudos go out to the president, the general secretary, and the chairman of the referee committee, because Bermuda is a leader in CONCACAF in the region for investing in referees and understanding that the referee plays an important role in the execution and the delivery of a football match, right? And it's been so impressive over the last 3-4 years to see this investment, to see the ongoing push, and I think passion to find a member association that has passion for refereeing, right? It's really phenomenal. So, Mr. President, kudos to you and your team for recognizing that, and really the fact that you now have a FIFA assistant referee after how many, 10, 12, 13, 14 years, not having anyone on the FIFA list. It's amazing, and just tells you the fact that if you put your mind to it and you have the passion to do something, right? It's there at your fingertips, right? It's something that any up and coming referee within Bermuda or anywhere in CONCACAF, if they're hungry and they have the passion, they have an opportunity to develop and represent your member association at the highest levels within CONCACAF and within FIFA. So I think that the overall work that you've done for the good of football, and refereeing doesn't just pay off in 1 or 2 days, right? It takes time for the refereeing, the investment in refereeing to pay off, so that your continued investment is really, I think, you're a year or so away to really see that investment really reap huge benefits.
Yeah. I'm glad you referred to the CONCACAF region and refereeing, because everyone that starts to play football has that dream and ambition of being a pro at some time. But then you kind of change courses, and at any point in time, if you're young enough and into it, enough, you want to go to the top as an official. So how does one, first of all, get to that level of being acknowledged in our region, and then possibly going on further into the FIFA rankings of officiating, whether it be an assistant referee, a referee, and or a fourth?
Earl, this is a great question, and maybe Victor can also jump in on this a little bit. But number one, it starts with the passion, right? A passion for football and a passion for refereeing, right? And you have to really have a thick skin, because I don't know who would want to put on a referee uniform based upon the abuse that we get, not only from players, the spectators. I've seen mothers running down the touchline, pushing the baby stroller, chasing the assistant referee down the field. So I don't know why they would want to do that, but it's the passion and for the love of the game. And if you have that passion and you have that love, right, and you're willing to become a student of the game, because to become a referee, you have to change your mindset a little bit, right? You have to take your playing hat off and put the officiating hat on and look at the game a little bit different. However, the fact that you have that feel of the game, being a former player or something like this, having that feel is really a fantastic tool that brings football understanding to your application and understanding of the laws, and really to player management. Because in the long run, whether you're a referee or assistant referee, being the student of the game, maintaining a high level of fitness, okay, and really relating with players, coaches, and everything, having that personality is a key part of success. And I think this is why the top referees go from the member association level, the domestic level, to the CONCACAF level, and then the FIFA/World Cup level, because they're able to put all those components together. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, Victor.
Yes, definitely. It starts with the passion, as Brian clearly mentioned. It takes some commitment and a love for the game. Being a student of the game, you have to see yourself as making a meaningful contribution to the sport that is so global, the sport that is the great equalizer. And if you have that passion for the game coupled with the benefits that is available to become a referee, you are seen in the public domain as somebody contributing to a game that's servicing the entire globe. And it all begins from the grassroots level and matriculate upward. And so saying that, we need patience as referee. The match official must develop a level of patience to stay with the program, work with the program from the basic level coming up. Because to get to CONCACAF, you mentioned that question, and to get to FIFA, you have to matriculate at your local member association. The under-12s, the under-16s, the youth league, the senior league. Your competence at that level will propel you into CONCACAF, will propel you into FIFA. So it's going to take time. It's not an overnight duty. You have to be okay with the laws of the game. You have to become a student of the game. You have to have football understanding. And Brian mentioned you have to be tough. And we have a term in CONCACAF that we use, dynamic personality. People who are recluse normally never do well. So football offers you an opportunity to come forward and propel your personality that will warm to everybody. These are some of the things that it takes to get to the higher level.
You know, Earl, I will add one thing, that if you're borderline, do I want to commit to this as a semi-profession, right? Because it is to be a top-class referee, there's a lot of sacrifice in terms of training, studying, being technically savvy, being top world-class fitness. But let me tell you, thanks to football and thanks to refereeing, I've traveled to over 50 countries around the world, and the friends that I have made in every corner of this planet is just amazing, right? And the memories that refereeing has allowed me to put in my brain and in my back pocket. These memories are countless, and you can't place any value on them. So it's really an opportunity to see the world as well, right? Or at least to see CONCACAF.
Mark, obviously we're a tiny nation. We have a lot of community football that is played. What are some of the things you're hearing from the officials that you have to kind of reassure them that you're on the right path, kind of thing, from the president's standpoint? Because although you have a chairman, you have all these other people, but hearing it from the president of the association, just to give them some comfort that it's okay to make mistakes, because obviously players make enough of them.
Well, I mean, it is important to give them that reassurance, because at the end of the day, they're developing just like a player develops. We try to develop match officials, and for us here, we consider the BFA to be responsible for all aspects of the game. The development of referees is just another part of the things that we should be involved in. But most of our referees are very, very young. There's a few we're just waiting on to get to the right age, right?
Yeah.
So it is a lot of a lot of reassurance, especially to the young ones, that you're doing well. Not to worry, your own pace with your development, and just relax and enjoy it. So that reassurance is important, and we can see where, and it's not just me. Let me just say that it's the whole executive are invested in the development of referees. you'll get different members of our executive to just visit referee training or go and watch the fitness test just to show their support. Some years ago, one of our executives got out and ran during the fitness test to kind of help to push along. So it's that the overall culture that we've built that referees are part of the game and their development is part of our responsibility.
No, can I add, Earl, one thing that to what the president said? Think about player versus referee, right? As a player, if I want to practice my finishing, I can work on my head, or I can take 100 shots with the head. I can hit 100 shots with the outside of my foot, 100 shots with the inside of my foot, my left foot, my right foot. But what for refereeing, it takes more patience and more time, and the public, the players, the spectators have to be more patient because referees don't have a practice facility or don't have practice time, right? Like players do, that they can really streamline and make a quick positive impact on their performance on the field. Referees really, how do they learn? They learn in real time in general, right? Unless you bring, I know you're bringing Victor and you're doing a lot of work with instruction, right? But considering the amount of time that referees are practicing on the field, simulating game situations versus players, it's amazing that referees can develop and learn their trade and their skill as quickly as they do.
Sure. Let me just let Cranston Williams come in and join us.
Oh, great.
Good evening, everyone. How you all doing?
Good
Hello,
evening,
my
Mr.
friend. How are
Williams.
you?
Welcome.
I was trying not to be too quick. Okay.
Welcome.
What do you see?
I have a red card for your question.
My apologies. My apologies. My apologies.
It's all good. I see you got your tracksuit, so you're good.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, I was going to ask you about that because we all know that in a 90-minute match, a player could make 20 mistakes, but the referee in everyone's eyes makes one mistake, and we could check video and see it was the right call. But that becomes the topic of the match, the one decision. How do you then comfort or reassure someone that's on FIFA's referee committee? How do you guys address a situation like that? Because a lot of times that one decision is the talk for weeks when it was kind of the right call right from the start.
Well, this is really another great question, because part of the mentality of a referee, the psychology and the mentality of a referee is so critical to their overall performance, right? Because what other profession do you get knocked down so many times and yet you have to get up and, get a pat on the rear end and keep going, right? And really referees take decisions very seriously. I mean, I can tell you, I refereed the CONCACAF Champions League final 3 times. And in one game, we decided the outcome with a bad decision, right? And my referee team, me personally, cost the team $1 million. We cost them from going to the FIFA World Club Championship. And let me tell you, Earl, for 2-3 weeks, I didn't sleep, right? I mean, this decision just killed me for this amount of time. And so from this, I've learned that number one, when we're going to make mistakes, just like a footballer on the field of play. And when we make mistakes, we got to put our arm around our referees, right? We got to pick them up off the ground, look them in the eye, and say, okay, how do we work to solve this problem so it doesn't happen again? And as instructors, as assessors, as administrators, we're really the coaches of the referees, right? And what we have to do, just like our player who misses the penalty kick to decide the game, we have to coach them and say, all right, my friend, what is it that we can learn from this? How do we prevent this from happening? Is it a positioning thing? Is it an interpretation of the laws? Was it reading the game? Was it your football understanding? And take the person back to the basics and then build them back build them back up, but never, never, never forgetting the amount of time, dedication, and commitment that they have to ensure that, you know, they start the game and they finish every single game with, you know, the most positive of intent every single time.
And
Victor,
to
let
add
me
to
ask you
that,
this.
Earl, just to add to Brian's comment here, fortunately for the modern day referee, unlike the days when we used to referee, there is a cadre of FIFA teaching material. And so having said that, it's important that continued training and development, video analysis, physical fit conditioning is a part and parcel of the daily activity of the referee. Because the more we do things is the more we learn, right? And we develop a habit to have muscle memory. So for example, you do video analysis, foul recognition, handball recognition, tactical fouls. So from a local point of view, it is important that the instructors work hand in hand with the referee on a regular basis to ensure that the level of competence and the skill is developed. Our idea is to eliminate mistakes because referees are still human, right? So once we eliminate the mistake and we do so by teaching, repetition, scenarios, incidents, possibilities, things that can happen in game. And it is good that we are able to get material from FIFA and CONCACAF to assist in this regard. So that's where we go to assist the referee in that regard.
Mr. Williams, obviously the help that CONCACAF and FIFA have been awarded to you guys through a lot of perseverance has made the availability of having officials for youth games, for senior games, that much more greater. Looking at how things transpired, how you were able to bring Victor here on a regular basis, him and Rohan and Kalisha as well, working with Brian Hall. Take us through how all that kind of came about to where we are today.
Okay. Well, it started, what was that? First course, I think, was 2015. First team was Dave, Mikkel, and Rohan Dorbarn. They came, had a course. I think Peter Prendergrass was the person I had to contact. We had the first course, we had 36 people every night. And then from there, Rohan and I became friends. We realized that one thing they kept saying that the referees were not fit. So the second year on, I think Alan Brown Morgan and Livingston Daly came. When they came, they met with all the stakeholders they considered essential for football and refereeing. And it was a very damn report. I'll admit, my back still sore from that report. But you know, I have broad shoulders, so put a plan in place. Then the next year, I think that's when I first met Victor and Kalisha. And then I was part about the under-15 championships. And so Sean and Antoine were nominated to go. And through Mr. Hall's assistance, they got one. But they came back early. So then after that, I think Kalisha came back again with Rohan or Victor, something happened. So I asked her, I said, listen, my boys went to the under-15s. They came back. Fitness is an issue, so would you willing to come for a month to work with them, whatever the base? She agreed. So that happened. They trained twice a day for the whole month. They went in August. Out of that, Antoine came back early. Sean got on the list. So it was a situation of, okay, now we got to put a plan in place for others. Then we also, had a youth referee seminar. Troy Lewis was instrumental. I was that up at Cedar Bridge. And realized, look, there's a need for youth referees. So once again, I started talking to Rohan and Victor and Kalisha. Rohan and Victor agreed to come different times. I wrote to Brian, asked support, very supportive. And then I think Hector and Kalisha came on another course. And in between that, Rohan would come, Victor would come, and the referees just bought into it. I must have to say thank you to Mr. Wade and the executive, because every time I asked something, they just basically agreed. So one of those situations where it just grew and grew and grew. And because I'm a school teacher, I was playing ahead. So even like the show, I had spoken to you about it, and you were like, yeah, it's a good idea. So now we have this yearly show, and it's for the entire season. The referees like the idea of being showcased and highlighted. And I think the biggest thing in Bermuda before was that referee was not viewed as something positive. Nobody wanted to do. So now I go to the match and I hear people complain about a referee. First thing I say is, well, look, I have a whistle and I have a jersey for you. And then you want to
Yes. Good man. Good man.
You know, Mr. Sabert, the general secretary, tells me I'm the walking, talking poster boy for referee. Because I can't be at a match and listen to you shouting abuse at the referee, but just on the side. If you wouldn't come and assist, then we could talk. You know what I mean? So I remember when Sean went to Jamaica to do 2 matches, I was with Dave Michael. So Jack was in the middle. And the abuse I heard coming from the stands, I say, yo, in Bermuda, that gave me a bend. They're like, what? But, you know, that's how it is. So with the committee and everybody else, it's been a process. I mean, even the referees start training. Previously, before me, schedule comes out, the referees just got on the schedule, that was it. And now, well, I know you have to come training twice a week, you know, and there are some things you just have to do. But I'm also, what we've done is with the instructors, we look for youngsters to help to bridge the gap. Because we realized the Sean getting on the list, there was 14 years between the Sean, the last person had on the list. We weren't the winners per se. But somehow, with hard work and the foresight division, now this is where we are.
Mr. Holt, there's an age requirement for people getting on the CONCACAF and FIFA list for officiating. One thing we have in Bermuda is that we kind of go through a process where a lot of people try to play the sport for a while and then go to becoming officials. And what we have is kind of a majority right now, a majority aged out of officiating people, and we're waiting for people to come through that. How do we bridge that gap? Because I know you have other countries who might be similar or have the similar problem, but how do we bridge that?
Well, this is a great question. And number one, you started it already because you're having these introductory referee courses, right? And I'm seeing the pictures and the advertisement have these young faces on there, right? So it's motivation for them, number one. Number two, I think that they have to realize that not all of us are going to be professional top class players, and that you have that other opportunity to see the world. Like I said to you, 50 different countries, all the different friends. You have another avenue to be involved in football, okay, that that can reap a lot of additional benefits and open new insights for you. And I think so. That's the second thing. And I think the third, we've got to get to the point where, as a young referee, you're saying, hey, I can make some money. You know, this is not gonna be a career for me, right? But I can make some decent money that I can go to a movie or two or something, you know, on the weekends, or take someone out for dinner or lunch, or do something. I mean, I remember that's how I started. I was a goalkeeper. The referee didn't show up for the next game. And back in those days, the goalkeepers wore a black shirt and the referee wore a black shirt. And they said, hey, kid, you want to ref the game? The referee didn't show up. I said, I'm not reffing any game. I'm not taking that abuse, right? And I'm 14 years old at the time. I'm not going to take that abuse. And they said, come on, you got the uniform? I said, no, I don't have a whistle. Well, we have one here for you. I said, no. They said, well, so this is back in the 70s. You can earn $2.50 if you want to referee this game. And that used to pay for a whole bunch of movies and a couple of Big Macs and some French fries. And when I found out I could get paid $2.50, man, I jumped at it. And then I fell in love with a different aspect of the game. I took a chance. They took a chance on me, and I had the support of great people like in your federation to support me when I made bad decisions and I made mistakes. But then I learned that this was more than just about making money. This was about a second career path for me. And this is why today I ended up refereeing in the World Cup and 3 CONCACAF Champions League finals. I was lucky. I was a lucky person.
Yeah. Victor, over your time of officiating and now being in a position to assess and give advice to young officials, when they're starting out, what sort of message are you giving them if they want to move on to the higher ranks of such as CONCACAF and FIFA?
Well, you have to embed in them that they need to develop the passion and the love for the game. Embedding them also that it requires commitment to make the advancement. And we use our successful match officials across the region, locally and in CAF, as example. So for example, we could say, look at a Peter Prendergast. In Jamaica, we use a Princess Brown and a Stephanie Daly Singh, a Cardella Samuel. And we use all of those motivational factors to impress upon them that there are much benefit to achieve from becoming a referee. So we use those persons as a segue for them to develop that motivational aspect, to get them into it and to stay with the program.
Yeah. Looking at how it's balanced out, Mr. Williams, because you have an abundance of females for youth referees that have taken up the challenge of actually being assistant referees in the seniors. You also have an abundance of young men that are doing it, and I know the parents are happy, not only because there's a bit of finance, but there's a lot of discipline involved in it as well. Yeah. Is that what you're hearing messages back from?
Most definitely, yep. And in regards to the females, I have to say thank you to Sharice Bean, because at the time, Ms. Bean became the head of the women's committee, and I just asked, I said, look, we need some females. So the under 15 team, I think, was getting ready for tournaments, and these girls came to a course, they liked it, and they became the backbone of our youth games on Saturdays. And now, 4 of them have transitioned to doing first and premier games on the lawn. So we now also have, yes, more females such as Natasha and Stacy who have joined on board, Shanae. But in terms of discipline, most definitely, because they have to make the time. They have to be there for the youth games half an hour before, but now it's an hour. Have to fill out a match report. So they know they have to come attend training sessions for the morning. So it's definitely a discipline factor, and it helps them. Actually, quite a few of them that help them to stay organized, believe it or not.
Mr. Weir, putting together a schedule for this year and running football for this year with all the COVID measures in Bermuda, for you guys, with the officials, what was the message to ensure that a match could be played under the new regulations and guidelines?
Well, I think it was essentially being able to share what the protocols would be, so that they knew and understood them. They knew that we're looking to create a safe environment, not just for the players, but for them as well. And I think through that sort of process, I think the match officials are comfortable and happy with the environment that we're creating.
Yeah. Mr. Hall, hearing that, obviously the pandemic is ravaging through the Caribbean. Still numbers are going up in several places, including Jamaica and Cayman and so forth. But trying to put together a schedule of events. We know that all the international matches are pushed back until next year for our region. But looking at how this can actually take place in a safe environment, especially for the officials, how do you guys plan to address that and attack that?
Well, I think President Wade can confirm that just this past week, CONCACAF released some COVID-19 guidelines and procedures for return to play, which ensures that the environment, right, for not only the referees but for the players, the staff, the administrators, is going to be very positive and minimize any risk to all of the participants. And I think that it's really key that most important part, I think, of returning to play really is that we provide relevancy and referees that are relevant and are ready when the competition returns, right? And we've done a lot of work with our instructors like Victor, working regionally and working within CONCACAF we've created the CONCACAF Center of Refereeing Excellence, right, which is a e-portal and a hub of educational materials for use by members, associations, and all of our instructors. Number one. Number two, Earl, I encourage you and your listeners and viewers to go to YouTube and look at the CONCACAF Center of Refereeing Excellence YouTube channel, in which we just 2 days ago released an educational video on offside, on dynamic personality, and a whole myriad of different things that we're doing to keep the public informed, to keep referees relevant. And we have, for example, Earl, we have every 2 weeks, we have video analysis sessions, 2-hour video analysis sessions with, almost 150 referees, assessors, and instructors, which we review clips. They do a test the week before on those clips, see what their decisions are, and then we get all of them together and we go through the concepts and the criteria for each decision so that when we return to play, everyone's mind is fresh, even though I may not be out there blowing the whistle on a regular basis. At least Victor used, I think, muscle memory of the mind, right? At least the muscle memory in the mind is ready to go. And when you see something, you can make the correct decision. So this new normal that we have is really, actually, in some cases, is sad for everyone involved, but has really forced us to be creative and find other ways that are going to survive COVID, right? Going and keeping our officials relevant and up to date.
Victor, you have a challenge because, with the conditions in Jamaica, how are things shaping up to return to football?
Oh, well, there are some proposals to restart November 14 in Jamaica. We had the COVID under some level of control. There has been a spike in recent time. So our methodology is to use 2 closed areas. And this is important for us because we have 13 FIFA match officials that will be required within the CONCACAF region. So the onus on us is to keep those referees relevant and to ensure that games are played for them to practice their art so that they can go out into the wider fraternity. And just to add to something that Brian mentioned earlier about the CONCACAF platform, the open classroom fortnightly, we also have that at the Caribbean level. Dave Meikle had a forum on a weekly basis where we go through video analysis with the assessors and the instructors. I'm pleased to say that we had Tashawn from Bermuda on our last program. We know he had some challenge with work, but it was good to see Tashawn participating last week, and he did very well in that course. So these are some of the things that we are doing to ensure that whenever football gets back on the field, we are ready and rearing to go.
Yeah. Well, we look at how things are slowly getting underway, especially in the amateur and semi-professional world, because it's in the professional world it's easy to create that bubble, but in the other ways it makes it that much more challenging at times. But I'd like to say that in Bermuda we've managed quite well thus far. I don't want to put no pressure on anyone, because things could change at any minute. We don't know how things are going or where they're going to go from here, but we look forward to continuing our season and getting international football back, obviously for everyone involved, because we want to get back to that normalcy, of course. And I know later on tonight, Mr. Wade will be watching interestingly as we have the draw for the World Cup. So he will be watching and hoping that following the draw will be some good news, because obviously we had the draw about a month ago and matches were then pushed back. So if all goes well, hopefully we're going to get back to some normal football. But let me ask you this, Brian. When COVID first hit and everything shut down, what was some of the messages you were getting from your regional people about football in general?
Well, I think that first off, it was, of course, safety of everyone is the number one priority, right? And I think number two is trying to get back on the field to play everyone, but in an environment, definitely in an environment where all risk is minimized. And because I think, as you'll know, you just spoke about Jamaica, United States, Central America. It's a different story there, right? Every different region has different challenges, right? Every country has different challenges, and to get everyone where airports are opened, right? Where I'm going to even say things that some of us may take for granted, right? The availability of testing, that you can get the results within 24, 48 hours or immediate, so that you can travel and be appointed and those type of things. If you think about it, every country, there's varying degrees of this, right? Throughout, CONCACAF is such a varied region. There's varying degrees of that throughout our 41 member association. So for the competitions department of CONCACAF to put all those pieces of the puzzle together it's really not an easy task. But I think now, as long as we don't have a second wave of this, I think that they're putting some procedures in place, I think in some ways doing championships, mini tournaments or tournaments is easier than doing individual games, right? Because you can test people, bring people, and control the environment much better than you can if you have an individual Champions League game or a CONCACAF League game or a World Cup qualification game. They're entirely different challenges depending upon the level and the type of competition as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do want to extend thanks for you guys coming on and giving us some insight into the international and obviously a way for our Bermuda officials to progress to, if they want, to that CONCACAF and to that FIFA level of officiating. The opportunities are there. I think with the help of Mr. Williams and the support of Mr. Wade and his executive committee, I believe every chance is being given to some of these young people who want to progress. And I would encourage Victor and you, Mr. Hall, to keep encouraging Mr. Williams to keep being the poster person in Bermuda, and maybe he'll be the poster person in CONCACAF to get more officials on board.
Yeah. Well, one thing we have, I don't know if you can see on my shirt here on the screen, we have a saying that we put on every referee jersey when we walk on the field. Victor has it as well. Every training polo shirt, everything that we do, we have one term, and that's excellence. And I know it's become a way of life for Princeton and his team in Bermuda, and we really appreciate that effort, because we're not going to, referee is never going to be perfect, but every day we can take one step closer to excellence, one step closer to that perfect match. And if we all work together like we have seen in Bermuda, the future is going to be bright for refereeing within our region and within your member association. So thank you all for having us.
All right. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, and do enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
No problem. Good night.